Hello, everyone. I am so excited to be back with you today. My name is Katherine of My Dead Dragon, and today I'm in conversation with Tamara Dabels, the Executive Director of the Fort Saskatchewan and District Chamber of Commerce, leader extraordinaire and mistress of Halloween. And if you're on Facebook and you've seen her house, you know what I'm talking about. They literally had a dragon at their house. So this conversation is perfect. And so really excited to be here with you today, Tamara, hearing about your story, right? And you are, as the executive director of the Chamber of Commerce, like I think a lot of women look up to you and think like she's got it all going on. She's got it all figured out. and
Wow, do I have that pull?
right, and we were kind of chatting a little bit beforehand about your process to this point and kind of the cycles that you went through, and I wonder if you could share a little bit about that.
Absolutely. We were chatting a little bit about confidence and journeys, and um, it had me reflecting on my youth. This young woman with all the confidence of the world, knowing that I was going to rule the world one day, and really confident that there was nothing that could be put in front of me that I wouldn't be able to achieve, no obstacle I couldn't get past. That young woman was uh, just a force to be reckoned with. And along the way, I don't know what happened, Katherine, as I was saying, there's not one thing that I can recall, but slowly and surely, like little chips from that confidence and that and the faith that I had in myself started to chip away, to a point that when I was in my mid 30s, I was looking for a job. I was headhunting. I was searching in the area for something where I could be of service and I could really have an impact. And you know, resume after resume after resume that was going out, and I'd been doing some volunteer work, and I was a stay-at-home mom for 8 years, and it was a real privilege to be able to do that. During that time, I ran my own business, and I did board volunteer work, and learned just a ton of things about organizational skills and time management skills and all of the other managing chaos that comes with two young children. And I was going back to the workforce with this incredible amount of passion and skills that I could only have dreamed of beforehand. I don't know how, even my daughter, who's only 18, I look to her and go, wow, you've got it together. I was a hot mess, and I sure didn't think I was. But I was a hot mess until I was in my 30s. Like, bless everybody else who isn't. So as I was getting back into the workforce and I was getting, rejection after rejection after rejection, I started to, describe myself as just as. I'm just this, I'm just that. I was just a stay-at-home mom, or I'm just a volunteer, and I allowed that inner voice, and mine can be really loud, but I allowed that inner voice to diminish the important things I was doing in my life and the contributions that I was having. And it was probably almost 10 years I fought to get back to the woman I was in my 20s.
But not the hot mess part.
Not the hot mess. Oh, well, it's a little more organized chaos now. less hot mess and
Yeah.
more things on purpose. I like to do things
Yeah.
intentionally now.
Yeah.
So,
So, I so appreciate you sharing this, Tamara, because I think that that's something that happens to a lot of us where, we start out, we're younger, we feel unstoppable, and we think we are, right? And what we think is, that's what shifts and creates our reality. And yet along the way, there is this erosion, right? This erosion of that confidence, that belief, that sense of self, that sense of value. And it's, like I think sometimes people think it's like a thing that happened. And I love that it's not, right? It's like there's like this one little thing that you don't even notice. Then there's this other little thing that you don't even notice, and another little thing, and then a couple years goes by with all these little things, and then you wake up one day and you're like, who am I?
I remember looking in the mirror going, why would anyone want to hire me? What do I possibly have to offer? And it was like, I do remember that very clearly, just because it was so contrary to everything I was raised, like the person I was raised to be, the this brilliant shining star that I had been, and that negative voice that we can just
Yeah.
listen to and pay tribute to, and that voice has a counter, right?
Hmm.
Those positive affirmations, like I'm a clever, creative, fun person who can accomplish anything, and I just had to find her again.
Yeah. Yeah, and you bring up such a good point that the we all have voices in our head, and depending on where we're at in our journey, sometimes they're actually at the level where we don't necessarily even notice them. They're just kind of running in the background. And
Yeah,
it's not until we start to like, whoa, what am I saying to myself? Right. And we kind of
right.
like catch ourselves as this almost a sense of shock, right? Like, would you say that to your daughter?
I remember that too. You know, we talk about our physical appearances, or, and I remember thinking, like, I would hunt down anyone who said this to my child.
Mm-hmm. So how's it
It's not
okay?
okay.
Yeah,
It's
to
not
say it
okay.
to yourself. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So how did you start to rediscover who it is that you truly are? How did you start to re-emerge into a greater level of confidence?
It began with reading some good books.
Mm-hmm.
It began by intentionally spending time with people I wanted to be more like,
Mm.
that I deeply admired. Yeah, it it slowly turned into those, you know, what I learned later on to be daily affirmations. But at
Mm.
the time, I just felt foolish and thought, oh, I can do this. I'll just, you know, you look at yourself and you go, I can do this, until
Yeah.
you realize that you sure can. You
Yeah.
sure
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
And then you have this tremendous, because I've surrounded myself with amazing people.
Mm.
And so I had an incredible, as my kids call it, squad.
Mm.
I had great people in my corner, and you slowly, the one voice was a little bit quieter,
Yeah.
and the other voice was allowed to be louder.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so important, I think, right? To find those sources of inspiration, those models of possibility, to surround yourself with people that are on a similar kind of journey or wavelength as you. And sometimes for some people it's really hard to find those people. They may not have them in their circle. And so YouTube is your best friend.
Yes,
Podcasts
yeah,
are your best friend,
yeah,
right? If you don't have those mentors and people in your life right now, you can also find them. You can find them. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I listen to TED Talks and podcasts
Mm.
as I get ready every morning before work.
Yeah.
Of course, my Dead Dragon, one of my
Yeah. Oh.
favorites. But yes,
pat,
no,
pat on
I
the
do.
head, pat on the head.
Right. Yeah. I do. I listen to them almost every day.
Yeah.
Um, and there's something you can find about whatever you're experiencing at that time.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so important to be really conscious of what you're putting in your head. Like, what are you feeding your mind? What are you feeding your heart? What are you feeding your soul? What messages, right? And knowing that over time, the affirmations, telling yourself positive things, it actually reprograms your brain.
Yes, I completely agree, and have been learning that along the way.
Yeah. Yeah. The power of affirmations. And so, was there a moment in this process where you realized it's up to me to figure this out?
Um, Nothing, Catherine, in preparing for today's conversation, I was trying to think of, there's lots of people you hear about these aha moments or
Mm-hmm.
where it was really crystal clear and bright. And I had a bunch of little ones,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
um, where you realize, this is on me. Nobody else is
Mm-hmm.
going to do this for me. I don't
Mm-hmm.
need anyone else to do this for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there was, and of course, um, I think the first time I really realized that I was I was going to have to get through this. And even though I knew I had a bunch of support, of course, my family being the strongest force, uh, I still needed to push through. I had decisions that I needed to make for my own life, for my own happiness, and nobody else could make those for me. Um, and I mean that I remember one really big time. It was a bunch of change in our lives, but there was it wasn't, like I said, there wasn't just one thing. It happened, it happened, and it happened, and you just, and with each time that happened, where you have to go, no, 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 I'm going to have to do this. You're going to have to get through this, Tamara Lynn.
Mm-hmm.
And then I do it, right? You do the
Yeah.
thing. You have a thing to
Yeah.
do, and I can do hard things. I can do hard things.
Yeah.
And so you
Yeah.
do the thing and you get past it to the next step. And
Yeah.
the next time that happens, sometimes that hill's a little bit bigger. And you go, well, I did this. I
Mm-hmm.
managed to succeed all the way along. I'm still here. I'm still fighting. So
Yeah.
if I could do all of that, I can do
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
And then when it gets bigger, like that's, you just keep going back. I can do this because I can do
Yeah.
hard things.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Right. Remembering I've done this. I did this. I did this. I did this. Because when we're facing those challenges that sometimes seem insurmountable, our brain wants us to shrink back, right? Our operating system wants us to shrink back. It doesn't want us to face that bigger challenge. And so I love that, reminding yourself, I've done this, I've done this, I've done that, I've done that. And it's looking for evidence to support the knowing of who it is that you're becoming. Yeah. Yeah. And so, I think you bring up another really important point, is that it's often, for some people, it's this big, like, ah, moment where they realize it, right? I know for me in my journey, it's been a series of baby moments, right? I've had some of those, like, oh, kind of moments, and some of them have been like, oh crap, right? Like, I don't want to have to figure this out, but oh, I guess it's my choice to. But I think more often it's a bunch of little things, right? It's like these little micro moments, or maybe we
Yes.
like wake up to it, and sometimes we fall back asleep for a bit, right? We wake up and fall asleep and wake up and fall asleep. Yeah.
It's because it's comfortable, right?
Yes.
And it's those, it's getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's
Mm-hmm.
not, that's not easy, but that's okay. None of us here were made to
Yeah.
do easy things. We were, all of us,
Yeah.
made to do hard things.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
when we get back into that comfort zone and let life happen, as opposed to being
Mm-hmm.
intentional with what we want, and thinking about where are we going to go and how do we get there. You know what? Sometimes it's way over there and we don't know how to get there, but all we have
Mm-hmm.
to do is go from here to right here,
Yeah.
because I know how to do that step.
Yeah.
I know how to do that one.
Yeah.
I don't have to know how to get there yet. I'll get
Yeah.
there. I just
Yeah.
need to go here.
Yeah. Just take the one step you can take, right? In
Yeah.
any journey that you're in any process that you're in, and any goal or dream that you are working towards, just take the next step. That's it. That's all you got to worry about. Don't worry about,
And
like,
it's okay to, sorry, I was gonna say, it's okay to pause and take that glass of wine.
Yes, absolutely.
Or,
Right?
you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
an extra cup of coffee in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. It's okay to not have to, go from A to B to C immediately, but it's
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
just taking that step and not letting go of the dream that
Yeah.
drives you.
Yeah. And that's such an important point too. I think when we when we experience those challenges and we grow into them, our comfort zone literally grows as well. So we actually create a bigger comfort zone for us, right? And so then there's that next challenge, and so we meet it, and we again, we stretch, we grow as a result of that. And in that process of growth, it's so important to actually take those rest stops and let that new way of being in the world integrate and calibrate in your nervous system, in your brain, in your thinking. Because if you're always on the stretch, think about an elastic band that gets stretched
Yes.
too, right? It's going to snap. And right?
Yes.
And what that
Yes.
does is it actually activates your nervous system, so you're in that fight or flight all the time. You want to actually slack it off on purpose. So be in
Yes.
the stretch and then
I bet
slack it
most of
off.
us in the last 20 months of like we're ready. All of us, anyone I've talked to, we're all ready for the like little slack. We've been
Yeah.
stretched. Let's
Yeah.
take a slack moment, folks. That's what
Yeah.
I want.
Yeah. Yeah, and people climbing Mount Everest, and one of my clients, her stepfather actually climbed Mount Everest, and she shared this story with me that as they're summiting, they actually go up and then they come back down a little bit on purpose to acclimatize to the altitude. Right? If they just went all the way up, they would die. So it's the same for us in our stretch, right? We want to stretch and then kind of come back down a little bit.
That's a great visual, Catherine. Thanks for sharing that.
Hmm.
It makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it too. So there you go. There's an opportunity for you to go into the slack a little bit.
Yes, I'm really looking forward to the slack.
Yeah. some
I
some
love
slack
the
would be good.
growth, don't get me wrong,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
uh, what is that? What is that curse? May you live in interesting times.
Yes, yes.
I'm not sure about you, but these interesting times have been enough.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to that slack and then the
yeah,
next challenge, because the next
yeah.
challenge will provide that extra growth and that extra. But you're right. That period of growth and discomfort is
Yeah, when you're always on that edge, when you're always on that edge, it's extremely challenging. It's extremely challenging. And so, what were some of the biggest challenges for you in this process of regaining your confidence, of really living in the stretch?
some of my biggest challenges, you say.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Um, the one that comes to mind the most often is just remembering to be kind to myself. But the challenges
Mm,
approach uh, it's when the outside world aligns with those words that are coming in your mind. Those are the
mm,
hardest things to overcome. And at
mm.
the same time, I'm a pretty stubborn individual, and
Yeah.
you lick your wounds for a second, and then I get fierce. Like,
Mm,
wait a second.
mm.
Only I'm allowed to beat me up. And then gloves
Yeah.
come off and you just
Yeah.
fight for yourself and you fight
Yeah.
and you grow and you fight for others. And I think that's probably the most successful moments of my life are when that inspiration and uh, that fierceness is on behalf of
Mm,
something else or someone else. Then
mm,
that's when I see the greatest strides.
hmm. How did you learn how to fight for yourself?
Practice. Sorry. Oh, um, let me tell you about one of my mentors. I met her as a teenager we moved from Winnipeg to Saskatoon, and she was a neighbor. And still remains a really good friend of our families and myself. Um, and I watched her. I speak of Juanita often. She's incredible, and she's a fighter, and she fought for her family, and she fought for her business, and she fought for her education, and she kept pushing and pushing, and nothing but excellence was ever going to do. But I have that in my family, in my aunts and uncles, and my mom and dad, and like I have champions around me, and I always have. So I'm very, very fortunate in that. I know that I'm blessed. I'm very privileged for that, and I hope that I never take it for granted. But it's been demonstrated around me, and my mentors and my good friends are the first ones, and my family are the first ones to come to offer to pick me up. But I mentioned that I was a little stubborn, and I won't get up until I'm ready. So I, sometimes I need an extra second to consider the lesson before I get up and fight. But I'll never give up. No, those around me don't. And I hope that lesson can be seen by my kids, because my husband and I are fighters.
So when you say you're a fighter, does that look like, I'm wanting to kind of wrap my head around this here.
Yeah.
So does that look like not letting yourself down? Does that look like facing those challenges? Does that look like standing up for yourself?
Yes. It'll often start with standing up for others. That triggers me when I see someone or something that is unjust. Then I will stand up, and I'm not afraid to say that's not okay. Of course, I say I'm fierce and I'm a fighter, but I'm a collaborator.
Yeah.
I am moderate. So I don't come out and swinging just in my own mind. I'm like, I got this.
Yeah.
But I come out and you work with others, because I truly believe that if there's injustice, or if there's in my sphere, my realm, it's often because of a lack of understanding, or somebody who hasn't yet put themselves in a different position and been able to see from a different side, because we're all, it's easiest to see our own perspective. And so I will fight to help educate. I will fight to try and broaden, and I fight for myself, right? I fight to broaden my own mind, and to recognize when I'm not being a great the person that I want to be. When I feel my mind is needing some expansion, I fight for that too. And sometimes, so it means that. It means I'll fight for myself. I won't let somebody I will fight to, how do I say this, Catherine? I'm not bothered by slights. That's okay. That's, if you're not a meaningful person in my life, then it's not really going to matter to me if you don't see the person I am, or the value that I bring, or what I could be doing, because that's okay. Like, we're all in our own lives, in our own world.
Yeah.
But if you matter to me, then I'm going to take the time to help come to an understanding.
Yeah. Yeah. That's helping. And, I think it's so important to know, I heard this expression like, what hill are you willing to die on?
Mhm.
So where in your life do you make a choice to, it's not worth my energy.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so those things are there a lot. But when it comes to, yeah, you're right. It's what's the hill? What hills are you going to die on? And
Yeah.
what do you need to be able to
Yeah.
have the good voice in your head speaking the loudest,
Mm.
and not let the other voice, and which is always there for me,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
creep in. That's an
Yeah.
exercise. So
Yeah.
if I that those are important. It's important to me to keep that my own mentality going.
Mm.
But the hills I'll die on are the causes I believe in,
Mm-hmm.
the businesses we represent,
Yeah.
my children every day of the week, twice on Sunday.
Yeah.
My husband doesn't. He's. I would fight for him all the time, but
Yeah.
he doesn't need me. he's he's a champion on his own, and
Yeah.
so and then I have my own personal causes that
Yeah.
are deeply important to me. I started back to the workforce after going back in housing. So
Mm.
I worked in the inner city of Edmonton, and I helped the those those without housing find it.
Mm.
So it was I'm the underprivileged. I don't really care much for that word, but the
Yeah. Yeah.
those who needed others to help
Yeah.
get us,
Yeah.
a hand up,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
This is how you do it, and here's what you need. And the Housing First
Mm.
initiative, um, and children and education. Those things drive me. So
Mm.
from a personal standpoint, I'll always support those causes.
Mm.
Kind of took a left turn there. Sorry.
Yeah, no, no, it's, because I think it is about, becoming the main character of your own life is about part of it is about knowing what are those things that are important to me? What hill am I willing to die on? And that fight, as I'm understanding it, is really that fight to be showing up as your best self for the people you care about, the causes you care about, and that you get to define what your best self looks like for you, right? We all do. We all get to decide what that looks like for us.
Yes. Thank you. That
Yeah.
was well articulated. Good summary.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and so the reason, one of the reasons I'm so curious about this is for my listeners. I can imagine that there's someone out there listening and thinking, how do I fight for myself? What does that look like? Right? Like, do I do I go into like fisticuffs? Like, but yeah. And so really my understanding is that it starts with knowing what's important to you and
Yes,
that matters.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Exactly. What, as you put it, what hills are you going to die on?
Yeah. And the hills that matter to you, not the hills that you think other people think should
Yep.
matter, not the hills you've been told should matter, but what are the ones that really, really matter to you? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so you have a hill coming up, the
Yes, I
the
do.
fortitude, if you would love to share about that.
Oh, I would love to. Thank you for that opportunity. Fortitude Forum is an all-day leadership um, event for women. And specifically, we designed it with communication, in consultation and communication with women within the heartland of Alberta, which is where I live in Fort Saskatchewan, as part of that heartland. So we discovered in conversation, there were some frustrations about where we were getting in our careers or in our businesses, and what were those challenges that we were met, and do we how do we slay those dragons? Like, how do we
Mm-hmm.
take charge of our own life? What skills or tools do we need to be
Yeah.
able to really propel forward? And these conversations were inspirational, and just
Mm.
um, I'm so passionate about this event. uh, because so this will be our second one, just to let your listeners know. We had one in June, and the feedback I received from that was just compelling to do this next one. I was so excited about it. We had leaders that it's a Zoom leadership forum. We had hoped to be in person, but the advantages of Zoom helps us connect with people all over the world, which is very exciting. And it helps us. There'll be some recordings, and if people invest as a premium experience ticket holder, they'll have access to all the recordings. But because we have access to recordings often, and I can't speak for everybody else, but for myself, I will have something playing in the background because we're all very busy with lots of deadlines and lots of other priorities, and you just don't get to focus on the things that you really want to focus on. And this one leader within Fort Saskatchewan connected with me to say, I had a full day and I was going to have this in the background, and 10 minutes in, I canceled my day, went home, so that I would have no distractions and I could be fully present for this and invest in myself. So we're going to have more of that on the 16th of November. And Katherine, I appreciate you're one of our speakers that day. Thank you for doing so. And we're really excited about your topic. Want to tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah. Well, look at that flip it and switch a little bit. Yeah, I'm super excited to be there as well. And I personally love virtual events. And so anybody listening to the podcast, you can attend. It means you can attend. It's on November 16th, live virtual over Zoom. And it's going to be a phenomenal day. And so I'm actually talking about aligned authenticity, crafting your unique leadership vision. So leadership really starts with self-leadership. There's like leading self, leading others, leading community. And so this is really getting clear on what does leadership look like to me, right? How am I leading in an aligned and authentic way, right? And a leader that kind of comes to mind is, and I just blanked on her name, but the Prime Minister of New Zealand.
I've blanked on her name too, but she's phenomenal.
Right? So here's this woman showing up fully aligned, fully authentic, and just a phenomenal leader. And so it's about how you honor your skills, how you honor your perspective, how you honor what it is that you're bringing to the table, and you value it. And you're not apologizing. You're not trying to contort yourself into, being somebody that you're not. Because I believe that when we can show up fully in our lives as who we are, then everything else is easier. So, yeah.
It's learning about those hills too.
Yeah.
You're gonna focus, and you're gonna learn what is your aligned self. I'm looking forward to your presentation, Katherine.
Oh, thank you. I'm excited. Yeah, I'm super excited. So for anybody listening, I will include a link in the show notes to register. It is on November 16th, and it's going to be a phenomenal day. Yeah. So, Tamara, anything you would want to share with my listeners about how you rebuild that confidence, about how you learn to fight for yourself, how you learn to stand up for yourself?
I think, again, it's just really important that you're feeding your mind and your soul the right things. So, listen to those podcasts and search YouTube. There's lots of available resources there. Read good books. There's some phenomenal books.
Yeah.
Make sure that you're hanging around with the right people. If the people you're around continue to have you question your dreams or your vision or your own skill set, or those probably aren't your people. Make sure that you're surrounding yourself with people who are going to challenge you to expand your mind and to be ready to step out of your comfort zone. Because if you're a little scared, you're probably on the right track. And
Mm-hmm.
Catherine, I've heard you say that before. So, um, just be really aware
Mm-hmm.
and pay attention so that when that voice creeps in, and it will,
Mm-hmm.
that you're armed with all of these other tools and resources to fight back.
Mm. And so, what has the role of, or what have the roles of coaches or mentors played for you in your process and your journey?
I think so. I haven't had a coach yet. I have talked to coaches, and I have coaches in my life that have provided insight, and I truly appreciate it. I've worked with mentors
Mm.
um, from early in my 20s when I didn't really realize they were mentors to 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 consciously and intentionally looking for mentors
Mm.
and expressing what it is I'm hoping to learn or to grow in and asking with purpose. Hey,
Mm.
you've got a lot to teach. I have a lot to learn. I feel like there's what what's in it for you? Can I help with that? So, anyways, I'm looking for a coach now, and because I think my next steps are going to require it. I've got some pretty audacious goals, and I
Mm.
don't, I can do hard things, but boy, it's easier when you have somebody by your side to help you.
Yeah. Yeah. And so absolutely love that, right? The importance of surrounding yourself with people who are going to support you and believe in you. And the Fortitude Forum is going to be a great way to do that as well, to get that shot of inspiration, to be in community with other women who are at various points in their journey as well, right? So if you're noticing, oh, I don't know that I have a lot of people in my life that would maybe I would describe as being supportive or also in that stretch, growth oriented, then coming to events like that can be really helpful as well.
I completely agree. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
I said before, this is a passion project of mine, and I learn as much at these events as uh, I learn more than I anticipate, and as
Mm.
much as I hope for.
Mm.
And you really learn as much as you're open for. So you
Mm-hmm.
certainly can't implement everything you learn, but if we just walk away and implement two or three things of those
Yeah,
golden nuggets, life expands.
it
It
sure
expands.
does. Yeah. That's a good feeling. That's a good
Yeah,
feeling. Yeah. Well,
I'm going to
thank
learn how to write a bio. So one of the
Okay.
things you asked me, Catherine, was, "Do you have a bio?" Like, it's uncomfortable writing about yourself. Some things on brand are going to be there at this upcoming one, as well as how to communicate for result driven outcomes. And goodness,
Yeah.
there's so much. I encourage everybody to come, and if not, the Fortitude Forum, surround yourself with communities like that,
Mm-hmm.
because there's so much to be gained and
Yeah.
so very little to be lost.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So, thank you so much, Tamara, for joining me on My Dead Dragon. And thank you to all of my listeners for your support. And if you are loving the podcast, I would love it if you could subscribe and give it a rating. And I also love when you message me on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube and tell me about how it's impacted your life. Yeah, it just makes my heart so happy. So continue to reach out, and I will catch you on the next episode.